whenever we sharpen a knife in the field, it's going to be a compromise because we can't carry the large bench stones that we would use at home. So what I carry with me is a small stone which is double-sided. On one side is a coarse diamond abrasive and on the other is a fine ceramic side. I also carry with me a few small nails, and I use the nails, I hammer those into the wood of a flat log just to hold the stone steady. Stops it sliding backwards and forwards. And what I do is I place the blade with the edge bevel, that's the last angle of the blade towards the edge, flat on the stone, and I slice the knife backwards and forwards over the stone, always placing the pressure so that it seems as though I'm trying to cut the stone. And this one, the pressure's there, not on the backstroke. But obviously when I do this all together, it's quite fast. Once I've used the coarse side of the stone to just tidy up the edge, remove any nicks that there may be, and to generally keep a nice angle on the bevel there, I turn the stone over to the fine side and polish the edge with this side of the stone in exactly the same way. This gives a much finer edge which will last longer. The secret to sharpening a knife is to sharpen it when you need to, but to sharpen only when you need to. You don't want to wear the knife away unnecessarily. If you're using your knife hard, it might be that you'll have to sharpen the knife once a day or maybe even more. If you're not using a knife very often, then obviously it can be on a much more sporadic basis, once a week, once a month even. When I think it's done, I just test it on a piece of wood to see if it'll feather a stick of wood. That's a good test for an edge, and you can see there any problems that exist. It's very important when you use a knife that the knife is sharp. A blunt knife is a dangerous tool because you have to place more pressure behind the edge. It's terribly important to keep your knife sharp. It's much safer, and it makes jobs easier. In fact, a knife becomes a joy to use, and you can create all sorts of things of beauty with one. At home, or in the expedition base camp, we can keep our knife in tip-top order using full-grown bench stones like these ones. And this is how we do it. These are Japanese water stones, and the first job is to soak them in water. They only need to soak for about 5 or 10 minutes just to saturate them. And I'm using 3 different grits here. The coarsest stone is an 800, the medium is a 1200, and the fine stone is this light coloured one which is 6000. You can manage without this, but it is a very good idea to have one. And this is a clamp to hold the stones with rubber feet, so you can put it on a flat surface and the stone won't slide around. I'm starting here with the 800 stone, the coarsest one, and I'm making sure I keep the stone wet. If it goes dry, it'll cease to work efficiently. You place your knife flat on the stone and then tilt it until the bevel, the edge bevel, is flat on top of the stone. And now try to slice across the top of the stone, keeping that bevel flat. And I normally do this for about 8 strokes. Now I've done 8 strokes in this direction. Now I must turn the blade over and repeat coming back the other way. Lay the blade flat, tilt it till the edge bevel is flat, and now slice back towards yourself like this. Having done 8 strokes this way and 8 this way, I'll now do 8 alternating the direction. I do this to make sure I keep the edge true to the centre of the blade, keeping everything nice and even. The thing I'm going to do now is just give this area which is closest to the handle some special attention, because this is the part of the blade we use most for carving. What I do now is repeat the whole process with the medium grit, the 1200. When the edge is absolutely flat and there are no light spots reflecting from the edge, you can move on to the next stone, which is the finest grit. The last stone is going to really polish the blade and gives a very fine edge, and a fine edge lasts longer than a coarse edge. But the way we use this stone is slightly different. We have to create a slurry on the surface, and most of these stones are supplied with this little stone, which has a wonderful name. They call it the Nugura stone. And the way you use this is to create a slurry on top of the stone, and it's the slurry which is abrasive and actually polishes the blade. It may seem like a lot of effort, but you don't do this very often. What you're doing here is you're keeping your knife in absolutely the best condition. Beautifully sharp, beautifully polished edge, and it's very satisfying actually. That black streak, that is the metal coming off of the blade.